We're counting down the best albums of the last decade, and this is 2011. In 2011, the Arab Spring rolled through Northern Africa and Middle East, drastically changing politics. Over 2 billion people saw the royal wedding between William and Kate. Osama bin Laden was killed. A youth camp on the island of Atoya was attacked by a terrorist. Occupy Wall Street was started. Hollywood icon Elizabeth Taylor passed away, and so did Amy Winehouse, as did Steve Jobs. Blockchain was a new word, and a long list of great heavy metal albums was released. Here are my top 5 picks. On number 5, we've got The Human Romance by Darkest Hour. I actually only discovered Darkest Hour around this time, even though it's their 7th album. It's a great mix of melodic death metal, even though the band is American, very Gothenburg style inspired. They also mix in some groove elements, some metalcore elements as well. On the album, some of the highlights for me are definitely Violent by Nature. Absolutely the standout track on this album is Love as a Weapon. At number 4, an album that I just had a lot of fun with, we've got Back Through Time by Alestorm. The pirate metal that Alestorm plays is a mix of some power metal, some folk metal influences in there, a lot of sea shanties and a lot of yo-ho-ho. They don't take themselves too seriously when something that is perfectly represented in the track Scraping the Barrel. But obviously, you know, one of the more famous tracks of the song is one of the, probably the easiest to remember title for a pirate metal band, the song called Rum. There are some of the faster and heavier songs, but some really good sing-along tunes as well, like the Sunken Norwegian. At number 3, we have not the mainstream breakthrough album, but we have the mainstream confirmation album of a band. It is Unto the Locust, Machine Head. This album was the first real album to follow the massively successful The Blackening. Maybe not the same high standard, but it's still a very solid album. Obviously, Pearls Before Swine is one of my favorites as a standout track. We also have I Am Hell and Who We Are, which is a rallying cry for all metalheads. But the hit of this album is the somewhat titled track called Locust. So number 2, we have a very special record by a very special band. The spot goes to the Thousandfold Epicentre by The Devil's Blood. So the early 2010s was definitely that whole resurgence of 60s, 70s inspired occult rock metal. And The Devil's Blood is one of the best bands in that entire subgenre. The music on this album is almost transcendent. And if you went to one of their shows, you know what I mean by that. You really got sucked in. A perfect example of this is a song like On the Wings of Gloria. The Devil's Blood disbanded only a few years after the release of this album. This album really has no weak songs whatsoever, but if I have to call out one particular song that for me stands out and is, you know, without a doubt, best song this band has ever written, it is the anthemic She. She is the only one, the only one. She is the only one. So we've already had a couple of really strong albums and all very different, but there was one album that I think really stood out. This album really propelled the band from being a leading band in a relatively new subgenre to being part of the metal elite. And the album that I'm talking about is In Waves by Trivium. On this album, the band really matured across the board, from the production, from the songwriting, the performance, the concept art. Everything was just perfect. It all came together. There's a lot of hits on this album as well. The album kicks off with with the title track, which is still one of their most famous songs. You also have Inception of the End, Built to Fall, Forsake Not the Dream, Of All These Yesterdays. And maybe my favorite track on the album, although it's very close with the opening title track, Watch the World Burn.
Watch the world burn! It sets the air on fire! Watch the world burn!
So these were my top picks for 2011. Let me know what your favorite albums were, and we'll see each other soon to talk about 2012. Alright, thank you for watching the video. Click here to see more videos like this and to subscribe to the channel.